It's always hard when the break ends. I love the shift in energy between the first part and the second part. So I'm sure that we've all noticed that when we're stressed, when we're anxious, when we're depressed, that we kind of contract, we kind of hunker down. And when we're happy, it's easy. We open, our hearts expand. So I want to do a little parallel with the body. So if you could kind of hunch over for a minute and see how that feels. Just hunch your shoulders forward and let's make a sound from there. It's sort of like and then put your shoulders back, open a bit, open your chest, and then a sound from here. It's like it's different. Let's do that again. It's so much fun. Let's hunch again and just make a sound. Then opening again, seeing what that feels like. And you can do the same thing with your fist. It's like clench your fist real tightly, even tighter. And then just slowly open it again. And notice how that feels. Let's clench it again. And then slowly open it again. There's a saying that there's a diamond in the center of your palm. You can only see that diamond when your hand is open, when you're more open-hearted, when you're more open. So we all have our own patterns of opening and closing. And it's interesting to cultivate a pattern to be as open as possible. And how that feels. It's like saying yes as often as you can. And of course, this is more difficult in difficult situations. But if we open to more spaciousness, to more openness, one thing about that is we can find our center more easily. We can land in our center. And when we're more located there, it's easier to say yes. There's also a bit of a release when we feel our center. There's a bit of a letting go. And often a small kind of aha. And more importantly, that sometimes too, with that, we can feel a bit of gratitude, which is the underpinning of joy. Additionally, if we grab hold of that moment and kind of savor it, that neurologically, every second of savoring counts. An important reason that we feel the release or the slight sense of freedom is that we've let go of our more constricted sense of self. We like to hold on to that real tightly, and it's beneficial to be able to let loose of it. We can't control everything. That we're part of a bigger picture. It's a bit like looking at the stars at night. And interestingly, there's always a larger picture. For example, if you wanted to grow spinach, there would be some bigger picture things you'd have to take into account, like what season it is now, what season spinach grows best in, how about the soil, how about the water, how about the sun, so that once you're in the center of that and any other larger features, you can say, aha, I think I've got it. I'll put it on my calendar for the fall to get seeds, etc. That'll be the best time. And this whole being centered like that in a bigger picture is like a simple truth. They've found that if they put a window in a hospital room, that the healing of that patient happens much faster. In fact, they can just, if they have a printed curtain with the woods on it or an outside scene, the same thing happens. Healing happens much faster. Another example is that I recently bought a house here. On the day I closed, a friend and I were walking to a restaurant to celebrate, to have supper, and we saw a new for sale sign on a very nice house. So we both stopped in our tracks and said, wow. And then she said, oh, I wonder how much that cost. And I said, stop. Stop right now. Remember, I just bought a house today. And she said, yeah. She said, I bet that one cost $1 million. And we were sure it didn't, but she was helping me out. She knew what was going on. So the larger picture, of course, is dukkha. I love the translation of dukkha being unsatisfactoriness or suffering. For me, there's so much anxiety in buying a house, the money, the size, the location, etc., etc. And of course, there's always suffering because there's always better houses for less money, for bigger rooms, etc. By saying stop, I protected that sense gate, my thinking sense gate, my ruminating, my if only gate. So there was freedom and a release in realizing the word stop. We could both kind of laugh at ourselves and the situation, knowing that all our choices are fraught with unsatisfactoriness, with dukkha. There's a great story in the suttas about Angulimala. I don't know if you know that story, but one part, I'll tell it to you sometime, but one part at the end is that Angulimala, who has committed horrible deeds, is running down the road and the Buddha is walking after him. And the Buddha is saying, stop, Angulimala, stop. Think about what you're doing. Look at what you're doing. And the faster Angulimala runs, the less ground he covers. He's kind of spinning his legs. He can't get any traction because of the truth of the Buddha's words, saying stop. It's a very, very strong word. So returning to the body, the first foundation of mindfulness, we can catch hold of a parallel between that's the situation and the body. And so staying seated, just close your eyes for a moment, pretending that your spine is like kelp in the ocean, making some micro movements. Just playing a bit with moving your spine a bit. Noticing how your attention is working with your body. There was a very wonderful meditation teacher named Ruth Dennison. She's deceased now, but she studied with Mahasi Sayadaw, and she was in a car accident and broke everything, and the doctors said, of course, she'll never walk again. And by using her practice and knowing all these intrinsic muscles of the spine, these tiny ones as well as the large ones, and doing this sort of awareness of just these micro movements, she was able to walk again. And with these micro movements, rotate your head a bit. First in one direction, and then the other. Rotating your shoulders a bit. In both directions, and rotating your hips a bit. Breathing all the way through your body, from your head to your feet. And shift your weight a bit from side to side. Feeling or imagining that you're feeling your chi, your energy. This is your life energy. And if you step backwards a minute into more awareness, the bigger picture is that we're alive. So grateful I can move, so grateful my body works as well as it does. So grateful I have my balance, my eyes, my legs, my hands, and how I can connect with other humans, with animals, with the environment. As we do these simple micro movements to let go and relax, to notice how our awareness keeps shifting. This is the flow. This is impermanence. There is a way you can say that the meaning is the flow. So then just settling back into stillness, opening your eyes again. The first stanza of the Rilke poem from the Book of Hours has always been very close to me. It goes, I live my life in ever-widening circles that reach out across the world. I may not complete this last one, but I give myself to it. I circle around the center, around the primordial tower. I've been circling for thousands of years, and I still don't know. Am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song? I live my life in ever-widening circles that reach out across the world. I may not complete this last one, but I give myself to it. I circle around the center, around the primordial tower. I've been circling for thousands of years. And I still don't know, am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song? So these words we just paralleled with our movement, and you can feel the movement in the poem. We want to widen outward, to open our hearts in ever-widening circles. It's like dropping a pebble into a still pond. We want to be that great song, but we aren't so straightforward. Sometimes we come up to the edge of our next circle and then we have to take a few steps back before we can move forward again. And there are obstacles. There's fears, doubts, anxiety, sleepiness, desire. It can be sensual desire, it can be the desire for things to be different. So there's a lot. And how do we dance with it all? Having just moved from North Carolina to Virginia, I've come up close and personal with all these hindrances. I'm intimate with these rascals. And it's best illustrated by a part of me that's a fox and a part of me that's a bear. And for about the last 6 months before I moved, the fox would say to the bear, "So bear, let's get with it here. We're going to move, you know. You could, kind of get busy." And bear would say, "Oh, go away, fox. I'm not interested." And fox would say, "Come on, bear. Need your strength, need your energy. Let's go, bear." And bear would say, "Forget it, fox. I'm about ready to hibernate. I am not interested in going anywhere." So it kind of went like that for a long time, until I realized that the way out of this was with kindness to the bear. Poor bear. Poor baby bear. So the kindness did it. And these hindrances, Rumi suggests we welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who sweep your house empty of its furniture. I think that's a good aspiration. But when these hindrances come up, they're like a workout in disguise. They're a portal. It means you're on the edge of widening further. It's subtle. So whenever you hear your self-talk going rah, 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 or something's disagreeable, or you're angry about something, just pause. That's your ticket. At first, you'll have reactivity, but then if you can hang in with that, there'll be some responsiveness. And at this juncture, it's helpful to remember that you're sitting on the three-legged stool of attention, intention, and attitude. So there's a lot of choices in this moment, and it's best to practice the faculties of conviction or confidence, of persistence or effort, of mindfulness, of concentration, and of discernment. And if you keep them like the 5 fingers on your hand and keep them close and work with them, it's very helpful. So there's conviction or confidence, persistence or effort, mindfulness, concentration, discernment. Coming back to the poem, we can hear the intention and the effort in the lines, "I live my life in ever-widening circles." The poem Rilke doesn't say, "I might live my life in ever-widening circles," or, "it might be a good idea for me to live my life in ever-widening." It's very much more declarative than that. I live my life in ever-widening circles. And then circling around the center, around the primordial tower. That still place in ourselves, the place to rest. It's like the sturdy tree at the center of all the vicissitudes, the praise and blame, gain and loss, status, disgrace, pleasure, pain, win, lose, good hair day, bad hair day. Staying in the middle of that, holding steady, and having equanimity no matter what. Feeling one's roots in the earth and the leaves and branches of ourselves in the sky. It's like we're standing in the island of grass in the middle of the churning currents. And no matter what's going on, there's always a bigger picture. Everything is made up of dependently arisen streams. It's like bits of vegetables in the soup that bump up against each other. We exist in an interdependent matrix. Think of what goes into your being able to take a bite of bread. The biggest picture was spoken by the Buddha just before he died. In the Parinibbana Sutta, which he gave at Kushinagar, which was the place he died, and currently at this spot in Kushinagar, there's a huge reclining Buddha, gold Buddha. And I was there with a small group from the Barry Center for Buddhist Studies, and we noticed that there were a lot of pilgrims from Buddhist pilgrims from all over the world, and the ones from Sri Lanka were so devout. They were so wonderful. And they carried these huge cloths, and you could see them coming for just some far away, and they'd carry all these different colored cloths and just lay them over this reclining Buddha, and chant. It was beautiful. They even chanted with megaphones. It was pretty amazing sight. What the Buddha said, the last thing he said was, it is the nature of all compounded things to arise and pass away. And of course, everything is compounded. Another word for this is unbinding. It is the nature of all compounded things to arise and pass away. You can see how this works thinking of any moment in your life. For example, since I went to high school, ... Things happened leading up to that, things happened because of that. And you can do that with any moment. And you can see how all these streams have arisen and arise and pass. One way to support ourselves, to balance, the Buddha teaches, is with our resolve, our intention. So you remember in the Eightfold Path, intention is number 2. There's view, intention or resolve, right speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. So the intention is right up there. It's helpful to reflect on your intentions. They can be small, like I'm going to plant spinach in the fall, or first I'm going to take a shower, then I'm going to eat breakfast, then I'm going to meditate, or first I'm going to, it's like your intentions. Or they can be large. It's very helpful to work with your large intestines and intentions. For example, it might be the desire to live without fear, to live with love, live with more openness and acceptance. The intention to look for the peace, for the ease. The intention to bring more kindness, more compassion to every situation. Can be the intention to bring one's desires and wants in check. To work to overcome delusions. And how am I working with the Eightfold Path, with the Brahma Viharas? Where is my loving kindness, my compassion, my sympathetic joy, my equanimity, my awareness? You can work with these one by one. Helpful to remind ourselves at the beginning of each period of meditation. We might start with that and then again with the loving kindness. And also at the end of the meditation to kind of have bookends to your practice. And also having the intention to look at our own poisons, our own greed, our own hatred, our own delusions, our own fear, our own ill will. To look at our own fear of scarcity, of pain. And sometimes it's helpful to combine that with a movement. Like I feel fear, and then to do a gesture, to open to that. To remember to let about the movement, and the movement can remind you of the change, of the diamond in the center of your palm. So everything is about movement, it's about impermanence. There's nothing linear. And there's the large flow of impermanence to stay aware of, like the seasons, night and day. And at the same time, to work with your own intentions, your own resolve. It's kind of like we're in our own small sailboats. There's wind, there's current, there's waves. You've got a destination. And to try to have an open heart You've got your rudder, you've got your sail. So how do you skillfully navigate? Water might be calm, choppy, storms, and all the micro movements in between. Moving while being centered, circling that primordial tower. Let your resolves, your intentions support your centeredness. Keep all in awareness. Keep checking in. Has the wind changed? The currents, the tides. Do I need to trim the sails? Am I centered? Do I know where my keel is? Is the centerboard my hara? Okay, so let's move into just a little bit of loving kindness. If you want to just stretch a little first and then relax. Dropping back into yourself. Feeling yourself under yourself again. You know, when the body is comfortable, it's like a container and the head can drop into the body and relax. When my head is too active, sometimes I'll wiggle my toes in order to help drop the energy down. The toes seem to be the furthest thing from the head. Or just ride that exhale like you're riding the elevator down. And then locate the heart space in your body. It doesn't matter if it's where your heart is anatomically located or if it's in the center of your chest somewhere. It doesn't matter. Just resting in that heart space. Sending good wishes to the person sitting to the right of you. And sending good wishes to the person to the left of you. Sending good wishes to the person in front of you. And to the person in back of you. And if you choose, keep expanding, sending good wishes to the whole city, to the county, to the continent. And to the world. And then coming back to yourself. Wishing yourself and all beings well. May I be happy. May all beings be happy and light of heart. And really happy. May I and all beings be healthy. Be strong of body and mind. May I and all beings know peace. To have the ease of well-being. And may everyone be safe. And may there be peace. And may we dedicate the merit of this sitting to all beings. Thank you for being here. Drive gently. See you next week. And if we could put the